Did you have to rebrand all your slides for the new name?
Pretty much.
I don't know why they do that.
It took me off guard because I wasn't on the loop on it was changing, and I was like, oh, that's different. So,
Yeah, no, I just loaded it up and I noticed it changed. Anyway,
all right.
I'll let you carry on.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello and happy Saturday, because I know we have people all over the world, so it's not morning, afternoon, or evening for everybody. So happy Saturday, or maybe even Sunday now for some of you. I wanted to kind of just share the Data Hub, or the Looker Studios, what we call it, what it's being called now, and how I use it and how I came about it, and other uses that I use other than just being an administrator. So let me kind of give you a little bit of details of who I am. I was part of at that point, Google Teacher in 2014 in Austin, which was so exciting, so much fun. So my history in education basically was teacher, math teacher, coach, all that fun stuff that we do as a young person, thinking we can do everything. And became a computer science teacher, then went into educational technology as a specialist for many years. And then I decided to challenge my whole life's choices and become an assistant principal, and then eventually a principal. So this is kind of my journey from the assistant principal to the principal role. I already had a bunch of Google experience in the background, so it kind of helped me in my organization. So I just kind of want to talk about how I came about Data Studio and why I use it so much. So my struggles as an AP, going from an ed tech specialist, having, doing a lot of training and creating things for other people, I found that I was kind of thrown into the may the odds be ever in your favor. I was kind of like thrown in there, figure it out on your own. I was struggling in all kinds of paperwork, and we had paperwork. We had this place we had to put data in. We had another location we had to put data in, and there was I was writing notes on a notebook, and I had paper everywhere. So I was really struggling to really find out where my role was and where I was spending most of my time when I was actually in the office, because we're all over the place. But when I was in the office, what was I spending most of my time doing? So, of course, like everybody else, I created a nice little Google form and started off with that. So my little Google form was, as they came in, of course, I bookmarked it. As they came in, I kind of documented the information. I showed the kids what I was actually filling out as well. So I was being very transparent with them. But then what I was finding out is that I was not able to get my data exactly how I wanted it. So yes, I'm very comfortable with Google Sheets. I can do the filtering and all the manipulation that I needed, but I really just needed a visual. And then when I wanted to share it with my leader, who was fabulous, he's got this much technical skills. So giving him a Google Sheet was not the best idea for me. So I was scrolling through Twitter and came across this Miss Laura Tilton, who has been sharing some Data Studio documents that she was creating, and I was in awe. I didn't even know this thing existed. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I needed something to help me get myself organized and kind of see where my time is being used. So what I'm going to show you in the next couple minutes is how I use the Data Studio as a hub for myself and for my staff. Now that I'm now a principal of a virtual academy for our district, and I'm also the a director of information services. So data is kind of in my realm of things. So this has been a life changer once I discovered this back in 2020. And then I'm going to go through other uses other than just my Data Hub. So here's one example. Don't worry, I have changed all the names. I have gone in and done a find replace and changed letters, so it looks like just gibberish, and that's what it is. But this is what I started off with. Nothing fancy. I just took my Google form, embedded it within my Data Studio, and then I had a way to just kind of keep track of my data that I was plugging in as I go. So I'm going to click on this so we can go see it. Again, this is not live data. I've changed all kinds of information, so it won't make sense once you start seeing some of our data. But what I did was basically say, all right, I need to know this week. Let me scroll up here to find this week. So you can filter it for this week, this month, this year. You can even pick specific dates. So I'm going to say this week, how many visits have I had? Now, remember, I've changed all the data, so the dates may not make sense, but So it shows me, I did 9 phone calls. I had 7 office visits. I was working with 2 students or 2 scholars on their attendance, a couple issues of non-compliance, and then I had an incident report that week. It was a busy week for us. But then I can filter out. So when my boss or his boss was asking, what are your APs doing? I was able to quickly give them some information in a nice, pretty format so they didn't have to go filtering through a Google Sheet. The beauty about this is I can fill out my Google form within here. I'm not having to go to Google form and then come here. I can just do it all in one place. So that's another thing that I loved about it. And then I discovered more that you could do more pages. So I was like, oh, this is fun. So then I went in, you can see this is where I change all the data. So it looks really funky. So then I was like, well, okay, I want to just see a list of everything instead of having to go to the Google Sheet and look everything. I can see a list of all my data. And just like a Google Sheet, I can filter. I can sort just as I would on a Google Sheet. And then I was like, well, what else can I do with this? And now I realized, or then I found out that, okay, while I'm on the phone with a parent or a guardian, I need to be able to quickly say, here's the many times that I've had your scholar in my office. Here's all the information that I've had, conversations. Here's the phone calls I've had with you or somebody else at the house. So I was able to go in and you can filter by student. Let me pick a student that I visited with a lot. And so this student has come in for different things, dress code, office visits, attendance, all these different issues they came in. I had it filtered quickly of how many for each one. And then I can even do a date. So if I wanted to do it by semester or by 6 weeks or by 9 weeks, I was actually able to do that as well. So this helped me quickly talk to the family on, this is what I've talked to them about, here are my notes, and be able to communicate quickly what we've talked about. And then overall, just for a whole year or a whole semester, I just created this just quickly so I can kind of see what things I was dealing with on a regular basis, which I'm glad phone calls was number one, because that is one of the things I strive to do, was make sure I had a lot of conversation with families and make sure they were always in contact with me. The other thing that I did with this Google form is I did put it as a shortcut on my phone. So if I was out and about in the office or in the building, I was able to still fill it out. If I had a contact with a student, I was able to fill it out and then still come back to my data studio and still see it. So this is live data. As you hit submit in your Google form, all of this is beautiful and changes just like you would on a Google Sheet. Okay, so that's one example. The next one is what we are currently using in our virtual academy. And this is a contact log. So now I went from, as an AP, just myself using it as a contact log. I have now moved it to my staff using it. So now they have this hub. They go in and they fill out the form as they visit their students. I have the staff name so they can pick it, so we don't have some funky names or misspelling going in. I also have it where our spreadsheet pulls names. So I have a spreadsheet with all of our student names. So I don't have to worry about misspelling of a student name or an ID number. Excuse me. I do have this blurred out because this is a live document. I don't want any information to be shared with you guys, but I wanted you guys to see. So now I can actually, the teacher, if I have the teacher calling a parent, they can actually filter out, what students been contacted and if they've already been contacted that day or other issues other class or other teachers have been having. I thought I went into more of that, sorry. So the other thing that we talked about on here was individual grade and student. So I could actually go in here and look at the students' grades. I think I have that. I went too far. There you go. So I could actually, not grades, but I could filter it by the grade level. So if I wanted to look at all my sophomores, what issues maybe we were having amongst our sophomores, or I can even filter it by name. So I can look at all the student names. I can say, okay, Mr. Johnny, what issues are we having this week or this month? And or see all the communication just in case I need to get involved and discuss with the parent. We also involved our guided reading. Those of you that are doing guided reading and guided math, this is where we document it as well. So we have any kind of RTI documentation listed. So all of us have access to that if we have communication with the parents. Some other uses that we have that I've used this for: when we started our virtual academy, we polled the community to see who was interested. This was something I put together using Data Studio. See, it took more time because I was sharing this with other people. The other two weren't so pretty because that was just my just for me to use. So it was just able to quickly get the data in and not have to worry about prettiness. This here I shared with the school board and my direct supervisor, so they had access to this, this data studio. So again, we pulled our community using a Google form. And here that's one thing about our data studio that you can do is you can actually filter it out. So through these pages, I actually have it by feeder pattern. So in our district, we have 3 high schools, and then we have so many junior highs that feed into that, and then so many elementaries that feed into that. So we did it by feeder pattern to see if within the community, where was the highest need. And the beauty about this is what I love about Data Studio or Looker, is that I can click on here and I can say this, and I can filter everything over here. So within a couple of clicks of the button when I'm editing this page, I can say, when I click on here, I want you to filter out everything else over here. So it filtered it out for how many males and females, ethnicity, obviously the campus, and then grade levels. So that's what I really like about Data Studio. Now, we had somebody doing a session earlier today on basically a dashboard and Google Sheets, which was beautiful, and I loved what she shared as well. So there's all these different options. If you're not comfortable with Data Studio, that was a great one to go back and look at, because she did a great job with that. So each of these pages, you'll see that we can filter out. That's what I love about Data Studio, because this is something that I can give to the board. I'm not sharing any data information. I'm not sharing student information. I'm just sharing the numbers that the school board and my direct supervisor would need. The next thing is, let me go back, is we have a truancy department in our district, and our truancy department, they go out and do home visits for all of the campuses. We have 30-something campuses, and they do all of the visits for us. So as we need somebody, they will go out and do so. Or if we have somebody that's not attending school, they will go out and find them and see what's going on with the school. So what we did was we created a dashboard. It's not an easy way to kind of track, and it's not, it sounds kind of micromanaging, but it's not. It's basically keeping our communication transparent with all of our administrators. So they're able to go into this page and look at, okay, if I have a student that I know we've been struggling getting in contact with, I can look up their student ID number, and it'll fill out all this information on how many visits they've done, how many conversations they've had, and transparency is the number one thing. So we also have it where we can see by truancy officer how many office visits or how many visits they've done, who they've done it with, because we don't encourage them to go by themselves, and then what grade level. And we have, this is what they absolutely love, by date, how often have the visits happened, when is our most visited time, and then down here is our record count. I blurred out the ID numbers, but this is how many visits per, or our top, basically our top 10 visitors of our ID number, of our students. And then by campus, so each campus can see, they're really taking care of our students. They're looking at our scholars that we're trying to get a hold of, and they can go in here and see what campuses are being visited the most by our truancy officers. So I'm going to do this is a quick training on how you can do this, just to get in there and play around with this. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a blank page of Looker Studio. So you could go to datastudio.google.com, or I believe you can go to lookerstudio.com. I'm not sure yet, but creating a blank report. And you'll see they have templates there, but you're going to choose, it's going to say, where do you want to get your data from? So I'm going to click my Google Sheet. I already have a Google form, and I'm putting that loosely that I've created. So I'm going to choose my student log, because that's the one I've created for here. That was the one with all the funky data in it. Choose my response form, and then I'm going to click add. And once you start from a blank page, you'll see it automatically puts a nice little table for you just to get you started. So let's say this is perfect. This is all I wanted to see. I wanted to see the count of how many people I visited, or per person, how many visits they've had. And, I also want to see just how many visits per day. So I'm going to go in here and add a count, a total. And when you click total or this little scorecard, Looker Studio or Data Studio guesses what you want to do. So it says, oh, you have a record count of 487. That's how many entries that I have put all together. But I can change that. I can come over here and say, well, how many different types of, or how many contacts have I had? Okay, so that's your home visits, or that's your phone calls. That's however you choose to do so. Or I could say, how many notes have I put in? So you can truly change that. It's just a matter of dragging and dropping. Notice these are each of my columns from my spreadsheet in my Google Sheets. So if you're comfortable with Excel spreadsheets, or sorry, Google spreadsheets, you can actually come in here and drag and drop if you're comfortable with that. And I am almost done here, so I'm going to go one more thing. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts while I'm waiting for this to come up? No. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is the control. The control is really cool as well. So I can actually put a date range. That was where I was showing you how I can filter out by by range, by this week or last week. It's just a matter of going to a control. They have different types. You can filter by student, by ID number. You can do a slider. So if you're trying to see a range of numbers, you can do a slider. But when I click on here, you can just pick your calendar dates. But right now it's saying, let me just pick something here, make up something. Oh, it already did it for me. So because I already had these two set up, it says, oh, you want this to be filtering everything that's on this page. So it's not always the easiest thing, but once you're comfortable with it, there's lots of tutoring out there, lots of videos. Go visit Ms. Tilton's page, because she has a lot of great things out there to share. And that's my data hub with Looker Studio. So I'd love to connect with you and follow me on Twitter, if Twitter's still alive after a while. Kind of scary out there right now, but it is a way we can still connect. So thank you guys for joining. I hope